Malala once said, "We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back." When we look at girls in ICT, there is still a huge disparity in the percentage of girls pursuing education in STEM, let alone as a career. Diversity, equity, and inclusion of women is urgently needed in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is why the main goal of Girls in ICT is to empower and inspire young girls and women to pursue education and careers in STEM. For girls and young women to thrive their careers in STEM, they need safe and reliable access to the internet and digital tools. Hence, access and safety is the theme for the year 2022. Greetings everyone, this is Sharon Shrestha and I am here to talk to two amazing speakers about the importance of access and safety. Before we introduce our speakers and start this conversation, let me tell you why we are having this podcast. Every year, last Thursday of April is celebrated as Girls in ICT Day. This day is celebrated to encourage girls and young women to pursue higher education in STEM, inspire young women and girls to take up STEM as a career, and engage and promote collaboration through partnership. Now, let's start our discussion by introducing our guest for today. She is the founder and also an executive member of the Center for Cybersecurity Research and Innovation. She has been engaged in different ICT related projects that help build the ICT skill of girls and women in this sector. She is engaged in various social works, such as collecting computers to set up labs and schools, giving ICT trainings to youth and women, and so much more. Let's welcome Ganga Bhandari.
Thank you, Saranji. Dhanyawad.
Next up, we have our very own IT infrastructure and security manager at Spiralogics. He has expertise in IT governance, infrastructure security, and DevSecOps. He is also a security researcher and has been involved in many programs to help secure infrastructure and application, and has been serving in this field for over 8 years. A gem of Spiralogics, Mr. Govinda Wagle. Hello, Govindaji.
Thank you so much, Sharonji, for such a warm welcome, and thank you for the invitation. And I'm really delighted to be, part of this event. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you, Gangaji and Govindaji, for sharing your time and being with us here today. So I guess we can get started.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so first question goes to you, Gangaji. So हजुर यो फिल्डमा काम गरेको चाहिँ कति वर्ष भयो and what are you currently busy in right now?
एक्चुअली म यो फिल्डमा बिजी हुन थालेको 2014 देखि र अहिले प्रोफेसनली एउटा भलन्टरली म दुईटा पार्टमा नै काम गरिरहेको हुन्छु। प्रोफेसनली चाहिँ म एउटा एडिबी फन्डेड प्रोजेक्टमा एज एमआइएस एक्सपर्ट छु भने भलन्टरली चाहिँ म सिएसआरआई सेन्टर फर साइबर सेक्युरिटीमा चाहिँ अहिले यो सेक्युरिटी अवेरनेस आइसिटी अवेरनेस फर वुमन एन्ड गर्ल्सहरूलाई स्पेसली फोकस, तर अलिक रिमोट पार्टमा चाहिँ जेन्ट्सहरू पनि आउनुहुन्छ, तर स्पेसल्ली मेरो फोकस भनेको चाहिँ गर्ल्स, त्यो पनि 15 to 30 इयर्स त्यो एज ग्यापको त्यो एजको चाहिँ गर्ल्स र अनि वुमनहरूलाई चाहिँ आइसिटी सम्बन्धी ट्रेनिङहरू पार्ट टाइम भलन्टरली मैले गरिरहेको हुन्छु टाइममा।
हजुर म्याम, सो अब यो जुन साइबर सेक्युरिटी भनेर हामीले कुरा गर्छौँ होइन, यसको लागि चाहिँ हाम्रो साइबर ल चाहिँ कतिको स्ट्रिक्ट छ त, त्यसको बारेमा अलिकति बताइदिनुहोस् न।
अब साइबर ल हाम्रो देशमा स्ट्रिक्ट नै छ ल, तर थोरै यो इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन पार्टमा चाहिँ साइबर क्राइममा अहिले पछिल्लो दिनमा चाहिँ एकदमै धेरै चाहिँ रिपोर्टहरू गइरहने र त्यो हामीसँग साइबर सेक्युरिटी सम्बन्धी काम गर्ने त मेन पावर एकदमै थोरै। यो पछिल्लो समयमा हाम्रो भनौँ न 4-5 वर्ष हुन त गभर्मेन्टले 2010 देखि नै डिफ्रेन्ट आइसिटी एक्ट लहरू चाहिँ डेभलप गर्दै आए तापनि यो साइबर ल चाहिँ 2015 देखि मात्रै अलिकति फोकस गरेर गर्न थालेको हुँदा यो चाहिँ अहिले पछिल्लो टाइममा तपाईको एप्लिकेसन धेरै आउने र इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन त्यसमा चाहिँ रेगुलेसन गर्ने पार्टमा चाहिँ अलिकति थोरै मेन पावर हुँदाखेरि पछिल्लो दिनमा थोरै बाहिर अलि बढी कमेन्ट चाहिँ आउँछ, तर यसको इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन पार्टमा राम्रो नै रिजल्ट देखिरहेछ। र हाम्रो यो साइबर सेक्युरिटी यो सेन्टर फर साइबर सेक्युरिटीले पनि चाहिँ यो डिफ्रेन्ट टाइपले होइन सोसल अवेरनेस गभर्मेन्टलाई चाहिँ थोरै ल है यस्तो हुँदैछ डिफ्रेन्ट चाहिँ हामीले तपाईँको लास्ट इयर पनि इन्टरनेसनल एक्सपर्टहरू चाहिँ लाई राखेर डिफ्रेन्ट अवेरनेसका प्रोग्रामहरू गरिरहेका हुन्छौँ। त्यसले गर्दा केही हाम्रो पार्टबाट हाम्रो अर्गनाइजेसनको पार्टबाट पनि अवेरनेस छ भने गभर्मेन्टको पार्टबाट पनि लहरूलाई चाहिँ अलिकति फोकस नै गरेर इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन पार्टमा गरिराख्नु भएको छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ।
यो साइबर लको कुरा गर्दा चाहिँ म्याम अब पहिला कस्तो थियो होइन अनि अहिले चाहिँ के चेन्जेस चाहिँ छ त स्पेसली फर वुमेन अब अभियसली इट्स नट जस्ट फर वुमेन तर एज वी आर सेलिब्रेटिङ गर्ल्स इन आइसिटी होइन अलिकति वुमेनतिर फोकस भएर चाहिँ पहिलाभन्दा लजहरू कसरी डिफ्रेन्ट भएको छ त्यसको बारेमा अलिकति बताइदिनुहोस् न।
के छ भने पहिला चाहिँ हामीले लहरू डेभलप गर्दाखेरि आइसिटी भनेर मात्रै हुन्थ्यो। हाम्रो आइसिटीभित्र पनि अब धेरै जनमानसमा यो थिएन कि डिफ्रेन्ट सेक्टर छ त्यो भित्र भनेर नलेजको कमीले होला सायद होइन डिफ्रेन्ट सेक्टर छ। आइसिटी भनेको आइटी भनेको एज अ नर्मल तरिकाले बुझिराख्नुहुन्थ्यो। सो आइसिटी एक्ट अनि आइसिटी रुल मात्रै हुन्थ्यो। अहिले पछिल्लो दिनमा चाहिँ आइसिटीलाई पनि डिफ्रेन्ट अब जस्तो साइबर सेक्युरिटी ल भनेर इस्टाब्लिस भयो होइन। अनि अहिले पछिल्लो दिनमा तपाईँको 2020मा एनटिएले चाहिँ तपाईँको साइबर सेक्युरिटी बाइ ल फर नेपाल फर टेलिकम्युनिकेसन भनेर ल्यायो। त्यसपछि अझै पछाडि चाहिँ हाम्रो यो सोसियल मिडिया चाहिँ एक्ट रुलहरू यो कुराहरूलाई ल्याएको छ भनेपछि बिस्तारै यो रुलहरू लहरू पनि पहिला आइसिटीलाई मात्रै फोकस भन्दा पनि अब डिफ्रेन्ट सेक्टर वाइज फोकस हुँदै गइरहेको मैले चाहिँ विभिन्न रिसर्चहरूमा भेटिरहेको छु। यो चाहिँ गभर्मेन्टले पनि गरिरहेछ न्युजहरूमा पनि हामीले करेन्टली सुनिरहेकै हुन्छौँ। यो चाहिँ थोरै केही हदसम्म हाम्रो आइसिटीको पनि डिफ्रेन्ट सेक्टरलाई चाहिँ गभर्मेन्टले हेरेको जस्तो मलाई लागिरहेको छ। जति हेर्नु पनि त्यो चाहिँ हामीलाई लाग्छ कि पुगेको छैन। अझै पनि तपाईँको यो अनलाइन क्रिमिनल एक्टिभिटिजहरू बढी नै राखेको छ होइन। अहिले चाहिँ इकोनोमिक फोकस भएर बढेको छ तर गभर्मेन्टले पनि आफ्नो साइडबाट केही हदसम्म गरिरहेको जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ।
Okay, thank you. Govindaji, so what do you think is the biggest cyber risk or a threat for a person online?
Okay, so thank you for the question. Let me ask you this. How many applications do you have on your phone right now? Do you know?
I think 60 or something like that.
Okay, so you may have one application related to your payment system, one for your online banking services, and again social media platforms, right? So do you know what are the permissions that you have given to those applications?
I just tick it off.
Yeah, you just go the default with the default process, right? So okay, from my perspective, I think the biggest security threat for a person is not knowing how their personal informations are being utilized through these platforms. So if you let me take an example of the Facebook platform. So it uses camera, it uses calling features, all those things, right? But have you given the permission to Facebook to use these hardwares when you are not using the Facebook, or while you have given the permission to allow this hardware to be used only when you are using the Facebook? These are the things that you should consider first. The other thing would be, as you may already know, it's social engineering. Social engineering is the most effective and the easiest way that anybody can get into your personal information. So if you receive a phone call from Facebook asking for a password, how likely are you to give that password to that caller?
I would think twice.
You would think twice, right? Because you have some knowledge. You have some knowledge, but what do you think if your parents, even our parents, grandparents are using these platforms, right? How likely do you think are they to give this personal information to the caller?
I think they would just give it because they don't have that education. They don't know why they are asking it. So I think
So
it's like
I think from my perspective, the biggest risk is not to the tech people, because they are already aware of it, but it could be like our relatives, it could be our parents who know how to utilize this platform, but they are not aware of what are their personal information that can be shared, or that could compromise their personal data. So yeah. So and our responsibility becomes our responsibility would be to raising awareness and letting them know that these can be the activities that you should be aware of, and then you can be protected by following this kind of activity. So yeah.
okay. So we got to know what is the biggest cyber risk.
Mhm.
Now, what can we do to ensure that safety? Like, we know we are not safe. There
Mhm.
are so many things that we know we are not safe in, but are there some measures that we can take so that we can be a little safe? Not, we cannot be 100%, I think,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to be 100% safe
Mhm.
when using online services, you can be 100% safe, right? But you have to be offline for that. So if you're going online, and if you want to be more secure, then there are ways. For instance, if you're authenticating to third-party applications using Google, using Facebook, then what you can do is just don't click on those default settings. There can be check boxes where it asks for the permission, but if you uncheck it, you're going to you're getting all the services that you need. So while registering through Google accounts or Facebook accounts, always make sure that you have given the right permissions. Always go through. We have this habit of not reading terms and conditions, but they put forward all the permissions that they need for the applications to run, right? So always go through those permissions and make sure that it's only accessing those informations. And the other things, the most common ways I would say that you can be more safe, not 100%, but more safe when using these online services is to always enable multi-factor authentication. And those people who do not know what multi-factor or two-factor authentication is, make them aware and let them know, educate them how we can enable it. The other thing would be do not use guessable passwords, and always keep your password in a safe location. And don't write it down on textbook so that everybody can see it. So other things would be keep your OS and operating systems and software up to date. Let me ask you this again: how many applications do you have on your smartphone that you're not using right now?
I
I
have
believe
to
you,
check that.
you have not checked, right?
Yeah.
So because we tend to install those applications, and then we tend to forget it,
Yes.
and we just kind of remember when we need it. So always make sure the applications that you're using are up to date, your OS are up to date, and make sure you have multi-factor authentication enabled. And again, you cannot be 100% secure, but always make sure your relatives, your parents, your friends, or anybody are following this kind of rules, so that they are more secure. Because it's we might be thinking that we know these kind of things is going to protect us, but it's our parents, it's our grandparents, it's our relatives who are in more risks. So raising awareness always plays a vital role while considering these kind of things.
Okay, so Gangaji, how can unequal access STEMमा चाहिँ STEM हुँदाखेरि unequal access हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यसले चाहिँ कतिको affect गर्छ त? As a woman, you might have your views on that, so anything you would like to say?
Okay, thank you for the question. In my view, unequal access in STEM and ICT, there is so many effects. First of all, it goes to an economic effect. अर्को चाहिँ तपाईँको सोसियल तपाईँको अवेरनेसको ल्याक अफ सोसल अवेरनेस अनि ल्याक अफ अपर्च्युनिटी लट्स अफ थिङ्स चाहिँ एफेक्ट गरिरहेको हुन्छ यो कुराहरूमा. जस्तो अब तपाईँको थोरै पनि अनइक्वल एक्सेस, अब कि जब गर्न मलाई आई निड जब अनि जब गर्न जान्छु मलाई कम्प्युटर चलाउनै आउँदैन भनेपछि अहिले तपाईँको पहिला सुरुमा क ख पढ्न जसरी आउँदैन थियो अब कम्प्युटर खोल्न चलाउन आएन भने हामीले त्यति नै ब्याक हुनुपर्छ हो सो यसको अनइक्वल एक्सेसले चाहिँ धेरै नै इफेक्ट पर्छ त्यो भनेको डाइरेक्ट इम्प्याक्ट अन इकोनोमी एउटा फ्यामिलीको इकोनोमिकमा इफेक्ट पर्छ फ्यामिली सोसाइटी त्यसै गरेर एज अ होल कन्ट्री एफेक्ट गर्छ सो यसको अनइक्वल एक्सेसलाई चाहिँ हामीले कसरी हुन्छ मिनिमाइज गर्दै जानुपर्ने हुन्छ
सो एज अ वुमन होइन अब हजुरले यो फिल्डमा काम गरेको इट्स बिन मोर देन 8 years होइन सो यो टाइममा चाहिँ एनी काइन्ड अफ जेन्डर स्टिरियोटाइप द्याट यु हेभ फेस्ड होइन अनि अथवा आफूले फेस नगर्नु भएको पनि कुनै देख्नु भएको त्यस्तो केही छ कि अनि त्यो देखेपछि चाहिँ हजुरलाई कस्तो भयो कस्तो फिल भयो अनि अब हजुरले त्यो आफूलाई त्यो ठाउँमा राखेर चाहिँ वाट क्यान आई डु टु चेन्ज दिस भन्ने त्यस्तो क्वेसन आफूलाई गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वाट डु यु हेभ टु से अन दिस
आई थिङ्क हाम्रो गभर्मेन्टको रुल चाहिँ भनौँ न कडा नै छ भन्नुपर्छ तर त्यसले गर्दा पनि हो या कसरी डाइरेक्ट त भन्न सक्नुहुन्न कसैले पनि होइन एज अ युवा गर्ल तिमीले यो काम गर्न सक्दैनौ कि भनेर डाइरेक्ट त खोल्नु तर उहाँहरूको गेस्चरले थोरै गेस्चरले चाहिँ भनिरहेको हुन्छ कि एज अ लेडिज हामीले यो काम गर्न दिने कि नदिने लाइक सेक्युरिटी बेसिस धेरै एप्लिकेसनहरू अहिले त पछिल्लो दिनमा थोरै अर्गनाइजेसनहरू सेक्युरिटीमा चाहिँ अलिक थोरै भए पनि अवेर हुनुहुन्छ यो सेक्युरिटी चाहिँ के भन्छ त थोरै उसले नजान्ने हो कि भन्ने खालको चाहिँ एज अ गेस्ट उहाँहरूको त्यो पोस्चरले अलिकति स्वयं गरिरहेको हुन्छ तर गर्दै गएपछि सेल्फ त पहिला त हामी आफैमा कन्फिडेन्स हुनैपर्छ एज अ वुमन होइन म पनि यो गर्न सक्छु यो यहाँबाट यो गरेपछि हरेक कुरा हाम्रो आइटीमा चाहिँ लोजिकल्ली इम्प्लिमेन्ट गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ लोजिकल्ली इम्प्लिमेन्ट गर्नलाई हामीले अभियसली सेल्फ कन्फिडेन्स चाहिँ हुनैपर्छ सो सेल्फ कन्फिडेन्स देखाउन थालिसकेपछि त्यो खालको कसैमाथि आएको फिलिङ्स पनि बिस्तारै आफैमा हराउँदै जान्छ र मैले डाइरेक्ट त्यसरी काहीँ देखेको पनि छैन होइन थोरै बहुत मैले फेस गरेको चाहिँ त्यो कुराहरू हो त्यो पनि अब बिस्तारै अहिले चाहिँ यो पछिल्लो दिनमा चाहिँ मेरो वर्किङ एरियामा त्यो फेस गरेको छैन
सो डिरेक्टली चाहिँ त्यो कुरा हुँदैन तर वी जस्ट नो इट त्यो हाम्रो सेन्सले चाहिँ वी जस्ट सेन्स इट होइन त्यस्तो भयो भनेर चाहिँ त्यो डिरेक्टली चाहिँ त्यस्तो भएको छैन हजुरलाई अनि त्यसको लागि चाहिँ अब हामीले त्यसलाई फेस गर्नको लागि चाहिँ हजुर भन्नुभएको जस्तै कन्फिडेन्स इज द की होइन त्यो एकचोटि लाइक गर्न सक्दैन कि उसले भनेर क्वेसन गर्यो भने चाहिँ बरु नभन्ने देखाउने होइन आई क्यान डु इट तर त्यो देखाइराख्नु भनिराख्नु किन पऱ्यो विल जस्ट सो इट होइन गरेर त्यो भयो भने चाहिँ आई थिङ्क द्याट वुड बी अ ग्रेट हुन्छ नि एउटा एकदम माइल स्टोन एन्ड एन आन्सर टु देम हुन्छ नि द्याट इट्स नट अबाउट जेन्डर हु क्यान डु एन्ड हु क्यान नट इट्स अबाउट वाट यु नो होइन हजुरको टेक्निकली हाउ साउन्ड यु आर त्यो कुराहरूले चाहिँ धेरै म्याटर गर्ने भयो त्यो कुरामा चाहिँ ओके सो गोविन्दजी वाट डु यु थिङ्क इज द रोल फर एन्करेजिङ अ वुमेन इन दिस हाम्रो फिल्डमा इन दिस स्टेम हुन्छ नि वाट डु यु हेभ टु से अन द्याट
Okay, so my perspective on that would be when you bring programs specific to women, I think it becomes a bias in itself. But if you bring programs which gives the equal opportunity for both men and women, then I think women would tend to appreciate that, and they would think like they are being treated equally. So if you bring all the programs women centric, then they are tend to feel biased. And the other thing that I would like to say is about inclusive, right? Especially in this pandemic situation, what I've realized is my parents used to ask me, what do you do at office, right? You work for 12 to 14 hours. What exactly do you do? I always see you in the laptop, right? And now, especially now when we're working from home, we used to have one office where 60 to 65 people used to come and work at one place. Now every home is an office, so we have 60 offices in Nepal, right? So when when we were working from home, our parents kind of realized that, and when we were, especially when we were in the meetings, our parents especially realized how important our work was, our work is, and how busy we are, during office hours. So, by inclusive, to include women's in all the programs, I think we should also consider the family situation, right? So how knowledgeable their parents are, and how what is the current family situation of that individual, and bring out flexible working hours, be it women or men. Bring out flexible working hours, and if they are hesitant to bring up or put forward their queries and questions, or put forward their suggestions, organize a communication training for both men and women. And I think that is how, when we give the opportunity for them to speak, and when they are confident enough to put forward their queries, and then I think it's going to be a win-win situation for both the parties.
So what you're saying is that rather than having programs that have that are women centric, let's have a program that is equal for all, and where the women can shine.
Yeah.
If they,
Yeah, there could be men who are hesitant to put forward their queries, and there could be women as well. So we need to include both, and organize proper communication training, and build confidence in them, and that's how I think we're going to be more inclusive.
Yeah. So when you talked about this pandemic, staying at home and working, so I had the same experience. So I was working from home as a girl, although I'm not married, but my parents did not know what exact work I do, how many hours of work it takes. And then when we used to get in calls with our team, we had our colleagues, women colleagues, men colleague, and then when they used to see like not only the boys but the girls as well working for the same amount of time, doing the same amount of work, and now not just them but everyone has a more respect for everyone working in this field. So yeah, I guess what you said about this inclusive thing, that's like really inspiring, and I feel the same. More than having a separate programs and everything, but an inclusive program for everyone, that would definitely help us lift the standard.
Right.
Okay, so गङ्गाजी, हाम्रो यो गर्ल्सहरूलाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्ने लज चाहिँ के छ यो डिजिटल स्पेसमा चाहिँ? सो लजहरू कुनै छ?
स्पेसल्ली गर्ल्स भनेर सेपरेट गरेको जस्तो मलाई लागेको छैन, तर यो सेक्युरिटी सम्बन्धी, साइबर सेक्युरिटी, अरू डिफ्रेन्ट काइन्डको सेक्युरिटी भनेर चाहिँ डिफ्रेन्ट लजहरू चाहिँ छ, जस्तो साइबर ल नै भयो होइन। अहिले पछिल्लो दिनमा चाहिँ सोसियल मिडिया चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ एउटा गाइडलाइन भनेर आएको छ। त्यो कुराहरूले चाहिँ मोर यो के छ भने मोर चाहिँ गर्ल्सहरू नै हो भिक्टिम चाहिँ देन बोइज होइन। तर अहिले पछिल्लो टाइममा चाहिँ त्यो टाइपको क्राइम पनि इकोनोमिक्ससँग जोडेर गरेको हुँदाखेरि अहिले चाहिँ अब भनौँ न, हामी लेडिजहरू चाहिँ अलिकति सफ्ट नेचरको, अनि कसैले चाहिँ सानो कुरामा ल भनौँ न मन टच हुने गरेर ल मलाई यस्तो छ, तपाईँले यति पेमेन्ट चाहिँ मलाई यहाँ चाहिँ ट्रान्सफर गरिदिनु, एज आइसिटी अवेर भइसकेको लेडिजलाई पनि त्यो भन्यो भने ल ठिक छ नि त भनेर हामी ट्रान्सफर गरिदिन सक्छौँ कि हामीले त्यो सेकेन्ड पार्टमा हामी सोच्नु पुग्दैनौँ। सो अलिक बढी भिक्टिम चाहिँ गर्ल्स नै हो हुन त। र त्योमा अब साइबर लले अहिले मैले अघि पनि भने होइन, तपाईँहरूले नै भन्नुभयो डिफ्रेन्ट छ, अघि गोविन्द सरले पनि भन्नुभयो, त्यो लहरूले चाहिँ के छ भने नहेर्ने होइन, हेरिरहनु भएको छ, तर हाम्रो चाहिँ गभर्मेन्टकै आफ्नै मेन पावर पनि त अलिकति थोरै हुँदा पब्लिकलाई चाहे जति सर्भिस चाहिँ दिन सकिरहेको छैन जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ। किन मार्केटमा अलिकति बढी नै अहिले चाहिँ साइबर लले केही पनि हेर्दैन कि क्या हो, हाम्रो चाहिँ निवेदन दिएको यति टाइम भयो भनेर एउटा थोरै कमेन्टहरू सुनेको हुँदाखेरि अलिकति मेन पावरको अभावले हो भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ। नहेर्ने भन्ने त छैन, फेरि हेरि नै रहनु भएको छ। सो लहरू नभएको, स्ट्रिक्ट नभएको होइन, लहरू स्ट्रिक्ट नै छ, नहेर्नु भएको भन्ने नि छैन, तर त्यो जुन सेक्युरिटी सम्बन्धी जो मेन पावर छ त्यो चाहिँ इनफ छैन। र अवेरनेस जुन हाम्रो अवेरनेस छ नि, भनौँ न आइटी भनेको एउटा अहिले पनि तपाईँको धेरै मान्छे जनमानसले बुझ्ने के छ भने चाहिँ कम्प्युटर चलाउने मान्छे, कम्प्युटरमा काम गर्ने मान्छेलाई आइटी बुझ्नुहुन्छ होइन म्याक्सिमम्। इभन तपाईँको एजुकेटेड तर आइटी सेक्टरको एजुकेटेड नभएको मान्छेहरूले आइटी भनेको कम्प्युटर चलाउने मान्छे नै म्याक्सिमम्,
प्रिन्टर बनाउने,
नेट जोड्ने, मोबाइलको कुनै एप्लिकेसन चलेन ए बनाऊ आइटी पढेको होइन। ठिक छ उहाँहरूले बुझेकै त्यही छ नि त, त्यो भनेको हाम्रो अवेरनेसको कमी छ नि त। हामीले जुन एउटा स्प्रेड रूपमा जुन अवेरनेस दिनुपर्ने होइन पब्लिकमा त्यो चाहिँ छैन। सो त्यो हुँदाखेरि पनि धेरै भिक्टिमहरू चाहिँ तपाईँको म्याक्सिमम् वुमनमा पनि अहिले यो टिनेजर्स होइन, टिनेजर्समा चाहिँ अब जेन्ट्स र गर्ल दुइटै पढ्न सक्नुहुन्छ। यो चाहिँ इकोनोमिक फोकस भएर, इकोनोमिक सेन्ट्रिक भएर भिक्टिमहरू चाहिँ अहिले पछिल्लो टाइममा एकदमै यो बढिरहनु भएको छ। यो चाहिँ अब एउटा अघि पनि सरले हामीले चाहिँ आफै पनि सेक्युरिटी अब मोबाइलमा सेक्युरिटीको चाहिँ मेन्टेन गर्न नसकेर सेल्फ, अर्को चाहिँ अब डिभाइसमा के कति त्यो कुराहरूले पनि सायद केही रोल प्ले गर्छ होला। तर ल नै स्ट्रिक्ट नभएको भन्न चाहिँ हामीले मिल्दैन।
हजुर पहिला भन्दा त धेरै कुराहरूमा अब पहिला चाहिँ त्यो सोसियल मिडियामा त्यस्तो केही भयो भने चाहिँ त्यस्तो एक्सन लिने चाहिँ खासै थिएन होइन। तर अहिले आएर चाहिँ इट कम्स अप होइन, यस्तो एक्सन लिएको छ भनेर। सो द्याट मिन्स वी आर प्रोग्रेसिङ होइन। अब हामी अभियसली माथिसम्म अझै पुगेको छैनौँ होला, तर वी क्यान नट से द्याट नेपालको लज आर लाइक लो, हामी अझै पनि केही पनि भएको छैन भनेर चाहिँ भन्न मिल्दैन। सो पहिला चाहिँ जुन हामी लजहरू त्यति स्ट्रिक्ट छैन भन्थ्यौँ होइन, अहिले अलिकति चेन्ज चाहिँ भएको छ होइन। मैले पनि अब यस्तो सोसियल मिडियाहरूमा न्युजहरू आइरहेको हुन्छ यस्तो कुराहरूमा अलिकति भयो भनेर होइन, त्यो चाहिँ आएको छ। गोविन्दजी हजुरलाई के भन्नु छ यसमा?
Yeah, so I have not gone through all the articles of the laws in Nepal, but what my understanding is the law is strict and it's good, but how well aware are we about that law is matters the most. So even though we have the law, how what percentage of the population of Nepal are well aware of those laws, and once they know these things, then only they would be able to follow it, right? So I think there's certain there's a lacking in spreading this awareness, but I think law is good.
Okay, so the next question is how are our programs and the STEM related studies and the workplaces, how can we make them more accessible and inclusive, like we talked previously about inclusion and stuff? So what do you think we can do to have them in place?
Okay, so about this, I was doing this research the other day, and I was doing the research on our own company Spiralogics. I found out that we have around 33 to 35% of women working in Spiralogics, and then when I checked the medical sector, it was again 33 to 35%. And even in the parliament we have 30 to 35% of everywhere, almost everywhere we have this range of percentage of women working. And then we have 75% of the population has access to internet out of which only 40% of the population are have digital literacy. So you can imagine we have 75% of the users using internet, and we have only 40% of the population who has this digital literacy. So there's a high risk. Almost 60% of the populations are in high risk because of lack of awareness. And how we can make more inclusive and how we can increase this percentage is from the root level, from the school level, because only 61 or 62% of the population are going to higher studies. And when you go to higher studies, when you pass out from the higher studies, then you will be able to realize the right career path for you, whether you want to go to medical or IT sector or or communication or whatever. Only 61% of the population are going to the higher studies. So if we can have I think two things in the school level. One would be having a proper lab setup and experienced teachers who are working in the companies, who are actively working in the companies, and then the next one would be if we uh, aware our family members from the school level, and then educate them on what could be the opportunities for the students if they are interested in IT fields. What could be the opportunities that they can have if we can make our parents aware, then it's going to be very much effective, and I think the percentage will increase in a fast pace as well.
So lack of awareness is something that we need to work
It's very
on
critical.
in every field, like we talked in the cybersecurity field and when introducing programs, because there are lots of families that know what they need to do, but they're not aware of the consequences, what will happen if they don't follow some rules and stuff like that.
Right. We can have 99% of the infrastructure secure, right? But there's always a human factor that can be the weakness. But the only way that we can minimize the risks and threat, and we can even make all inclusive to the IT industry, is to aware them about what we do, how we can use the applications and things like that.
Okay, so looks like I'm out of questions for now, but I do have a lot of things to ask, but we have a short span of time. We need to have this. So we're almost at the end of the show. So Gangaji, would you like to say something at the end?
Thank you for the opportunity. के छ भने जति पनि हामीले ल बनायौँ, रुलहरू हामीले पब्लिस गर्छौँ, बनाउँछौँ, एक्टहरू बनाउँछौँ, त्यसलाई अलिकति अघि सरले पनि भने जस्तो जति बनायौँ त्यसले चाहिँ पब्लिकमा केही टाइम चाहिँ अवेरनेसको लागि पनि दियौँ. बनाउने अनि कहीँ राख्ने मात्र होइन, केही टाइम अवेरनेसलाई दियौँ. केही भोलिन्टियर हाम्रो चाहिँ स्टुडेन्टहरू भोलिन्टियरहरू जो हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँहरू भोलिन्टियर गर्नलाई एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टेड मैले धेरै भेटेँ हुन्छु होइन. तर उहाँहरूले कहाँ गएर कुन सेक्टरमा हामीले आइटीको भोलिन्टियर गर्न सक्छौँ, के चाहिँ कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्छौँ कम्युनिटीमा भन्ने कुरा अन्यलमा हुनुहुन्छ. सो केही टाइम स्टुडेन्टलाई चाहिँ 1 विक चाहिँ कुनै कम्युनिटीमा, तिम्रो आफ्नो कम्युनिटीमा गएर सर्टेन मान्छेलाई चाहिँ यो कुराको यो टपिकमा अवेर गरेर आऊ. सेक्युरिटी सम्बन्धी, सोसियल मिडिया सम्बन्धी, सोसियल मिडियाको गाइडलाइन सम्बन्धी, हाउ टु युज सेक्युरली सोसियल मिडिया हुन्छ नि. त्यो भयो भने सायद हाम्रो यङ टिनेजर्सहरूलाई पनि एकदमै अपर्च्युनिटी हुन्छ र कम्युनिटी पनि लो कस्टमा अलिकति भए पनि अवेर हुन्छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ. थ्याङ्क यू.
Thank you, Gangaji. So Govindaji, anything from your side?
Yeah, I've said most of it, but again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm really delighted to be part of this event. And lastly, again, what I would like to say is we cannot be 100% secure. We can only minimize it, and the best and effective way that we can minimize these risks is to aware and always let your family members, let your relatives, or your close friends about all these things that we talked about. How we can be more secure, and how we can utilize these applications and payment systems more securely. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I learned a lot of things. Previously, I used to think, I also had this maybe a stereotypical thinking that the laws are not there, and what happens if there's a cyber law, and what does the system do? But there are laws, we're just not aware of it. That's what I got to know about. And also about inclusion. Yes, having equal rights is important, but at the same time, inclusion is also very important. Not just specifying to girls, but having boys in the same room, but giving them the equal opportunities. That will help the girls also shine along with the boys. So not just saying that let's have this program for girls and not invite any boys. That's not what we should do. So I think the theme of inclusion, we have Govindaji with us today, so that was also inclusion. So that made us feel that all of us are in the same level, we're all in the same group. So it helped me to learn a lot of things. So thank you so much once again. So now I would like to conclude this podcast. So our podcast has been sponsored by Makuse, which is a Nepali dessert brand run by Anushka Shrestha. Another is Manaidehi, an online-based gift-giving merchandise which aims to promote local resources, which is run by Grishma Paurel, and Bookmarks.yb, that is an online craft business run by Yomo Bhattacharya. So all of these are Nepali brands that are run by women, and it is very inspiring to hear their stories and how far they've come. So I would like to provide you guys with a token of appreciation from Spiralogics and also from our sponsors. Please accept this as a token of appreciation, as a thank you from Spiralogics. Thank you, Ganga-ji. And this to you, Govinda-ji.
Thank you.
Okay, so we also have gift from our sponsors. Ganga-ji, we have a gift from our sponsors. Thank you, sponsors. Here you go, Govinda-ji.
Thank you.
And last but not the least, we would also like to thank our studio partner who has provided us with all the equipments, the necessary items we did for this podcast. That is Sunway International Business School. Thank you so much for all your help. Thank you everyone for joining. Happy Girls in ICT Day 2022. Stay tuned. See you in the next one.